Welcome back to Life Be Lifing, the place where we heal. Honestly, love intentionally and protect what matters. I want to ask you something. Have you ever looked at yourself and wondered, when did I become this person? Not because you don't recognize your face, but because you don't recognize how you love anymore. Maybe you don't trust people the way you used to. Maybe asking for help feels uncomfortable. Maybe you're always waiting for something to go wrong, even when everything seems okay. Maybe you stay busy because slowing down means feeling things you've spent years trying to outrun. If any of that sounds familiar, this episode is for you. Because I don't believe most of us became this way on purpose. I think life happened, pain happened, disappointment happened, loss happened, and without realizing it, we slowly became people who knew how to survive, but forgot how to simply live. Today's episode is called The Version of You Built from Survival. And before this conversation is over, I hope you'll ask yourself one question. Who am I when I'm no longer just trying to survive? Most of us think survival looks dramatic. We picture running from danger, escaping impossible situations, fighting through crisis. But sometimes survival is much quieter than that. Sometimes survival is becoming the child who never asked for anything because nobody ever showed up. Sometimes it becomes the teenager who learned to read everyone's mood before speaking because home never felt emotionally safe. Sometimes it's becoming the adult who says, I've got it. I'm fine. I don't need anybody. Not because that's who you are, but because somewhere along the way, depending on people became more painful than doing everything yourself. The scary part is, when you've lived in survival long enough, you stop realizing you're surviving. It starts feeling like your personality. You think, I'm just independent. I'm just private. I don't let people get too close. But what if those aren't personality traits? What if they're survival skills that never got permission to retire? And here's what survival rarely tells us. The things that protected us can also isolate us. The walls that kept people from hurting us also keep healthy people from reaching us. The independence that helped us survive can make receiving love feel uncomfortable. The hyper-awareness that once kept us safe can make peace feel suspicious. That's why so many people say they want healthy love, but panic when they actually experience it. Because healthy love feels unfamiliar to a nervous system that's been trained to expect disappointment. Think about that for a moment. Maybe that's why compliments make you uncomfortable. Maybe that's why you overthink text messages. Maybe that's why you keep waiting for someone to change, to leave, to betray you. Not because you're broken, because your body remembers what your mind is trying to forget. And that's where emotional numbness quietly begins. Not because you stopped caring, because caring became exhausting. You cried until you couldn't cry anymore. You hoped until hoping became painful. You trusted until trusting became dangerous. So your heart made a decision without asking your permission. If feeling this much hurts, maybe I'll just stop feeling altogether. Healing begins the moment we give ourselves permission to feel again. But here's the part nobody talks about. The moment you start feeling again, you also become vulnerable again. Trust isn't difficult because you're broken. Trust is difficult because your experiences trained your nervous system to believe that love could disappear without warning. Promises could be broken, and the people who were supposed to protect you could become the ones who hurt you. So now your mind scans for danger before it looks for safety. You question kindness. You brace yourself for rejection. You expect disappointment before hope has a chance to grow. Not because that's who you are, but because that's who survival taught you to become. Take a moment and ask yourself, am I living from healing or survival? What behaviors have I mistaken for personality? What emotions am I afraid to feel? Do I struggle to trust people who genuinely care about me? What would my life look like if I stopped preparing for pain? And the biggest question, who am I without survival mode? The version of you that survived deserves compassion. That version kept you alive, protected you, carried you through impossible seasons. But survival was never supposed to become your permanent identity. There is another version of you waiting to emerge. The version that laughs without guilt, loves without constant fear, trusts with wisdom, rests without anxiety, receives without feeling undeserving. Healing isn't becoming someone new. It's finally becoming who you were before pain convinced you otherwise.